The elevator doors opened with a soft chime, and Nathan Grayson stepped into the hotel lobby, already regretting his decision to attend this reunion. 20 years since high school graduation, and he had spent the last month finding excuses not to come. His assistant had finally convinced him that avoiding every social obligation made him look like a recluse. And considering he ran one of the most successful manufacturing companies in the Midwest, perhaps some networking would not hurt. Still, facing people who knew him when he was an awkward kid with second-hand clothes and a scholarship felt like voluntarily walking into a firing squad. The Grand Meridian Hotel sparkled with tasteful decorations, banners welcoming the class of 2006 hanging from the ceiling. Nathan adjusted his watch, a custom piece worth more than his family's entire house back then, and scanned the crowd gathering near the ballroom entrance. He recognized a few faces, older but familiar, and felt the old anxiety creeping up his spine. Then he saw her. Willow Rosewood stood near the registration table, laughing at something another woman was saying. Her dark hair fell in waves past her shoulders, and she wore a simple emerald dress that somehow made everyone else in the room fade into background noise. Nathan's heart kicked against his ribs exactly the way it had 2 decades ago when she sat 3 rows ahead of him in English class. He had never told her how he felt. How could he? She dated the quarterback, moved in circles he could never touch, while he worked 2 jobs and studied himself half to death trying to earn a future. Nathan Grayson, is that really you? A man approached with a wide grin and an extended hand. Nathan shook it automatically, his mind still processing the fact that Willow was here, real and somehow more beautiful than his memories. "Dave Henderson," the man said. "We had chemistry together. You saved my grade with that study group, remember?" Nathan smiled politely. "Of course." "Good to see you." They exchanged the standard pleasantries about careers and families. Dave worked in insurance, had 3 kids, seemed genuinely happy. Nathan provided the abbreviated version of his life. Started a small manufacturing business right out of college, grew it steadily, now employed about 800 people across 4 states. He left out the part about the $100 million valuation and the acquisition offers he turned down quarterly. "That's incredible, man," Dave said. "You always were the smartest guy in class. Hey, you should come say hi to some of the old crew. Everyone's wondering what happened to you." Before Nathan could decline, Dave was steering him toward a group gathered near the bar. And there, right in the center, was Willow. Up close, Nathan could see the fine lines around her eyes, the way her smile reached all the way to her gaze, the confidence she carried that made his teenage memories seem like pale sketches of the real person. "Look who I found," Dave announced. "Nathan Grayson, remember him?" Willow's eyes met his and something flickered across her face. Recognition, certainly, but something else too. "Surprise, maybe, of course," she said, and her voice sent him straight back to being 17. "Nathan, it's been forever." "Hi, Willow." He managed to sound relatively normal, which felt like a small miracle. The group absorbed him into conversation, people sharing updates and reminiscing about teachers and events Nathan had mostly missed because he was working. He noticed Willow watching him a few times, a slight crease between her eyebrows like she was trying to figure something out. When someone asked what he did for a living, he gave the same modest explanation. "Just manufacturing," Willow asked. "What kind?" "Industrial equipment, mostly. Components for construction and agriculture machinery. Nothing glamorous. But successful, clearly," she said, gesturing to his suit. It was tailored, expensive in a way that did not scream money but whispered it to those who knew. Nathan shrugged. "I've been fortunate." Someone suggested they head into the ballroom where dinner was being served. The crowd migrated that direction, and Nathan found himself walking beside Willow, separated slightly from the others by the natural flow of movement. "I'm glad you came," she said quietly. "I wasn't sure you would." "You weren't at the 10-year. "I was in Japan," Nathan said. "Business meetings I couldn't reschedule." That was true, though he also had not tried very hard to reschedule them. "What about you? I heard you moved away after graduation. California for college, then I bounced around for a while." "Came back about 5 years ago." She paused. "I'm divorced. 2 years now, I'm sorry." "Don't be, it was the right thing." She glanced at him. "You, never married, came close once, but timing was wrong." What he did not say was that he had realized he was comparing every woman to a memory of Willow Rosewood, which seemed both pathetic and impossible to change. They reached their assigned tables, which by some cosmic joke or deliberate planning were next to each other. Nathan ended up seated with his back partially to Willow's table, but every time he turned his head, there she was in his peripheral vision, laughing and talking with old friends. He tried to focus on his own table mates, tried to be present in conversations about career paths and children, and the ways the old neighborhood had changed. But his attention kept drifting. Dinner arrived, some chicken dish with vegetables that tasted fine but registered as mostly texture because Nathan's mind was elsewhere. He was aware of how ridiculous this was. He ran a company that moved millions of dollars daily, negotiated with people who could buy and sell small countries, had given presentations to rooms full of investors without breaking a sweat. Yet sitting 20 feet from Willow Rosewood made him feel like that awkward teenager again, tongue-tied and invisible. "So Nathan," said the woman to his right, Jessica something, "are you seeing anyone?" The table went quiet with that particular attention people give when sensing potential gossip. "Not currently," Nathan said. "Work keeps me pretty busy." "That's what they all say," Jessica teased. "But you should make time. You're not getting any younger." "Thanks for that reminder," Nathan said dryly, and the table laughed. After dinner, a slideshow played on screens around the ballroom, photos from their high school years set to music from that era. Nathan watched himself appear in a few group shots, always on the edge of the frame, never quite belonging. Then a photo of Willow at prom filled the screen, beautiful in a blue dress, her date's arm around her waist. Nathan remembered that night, remembered working the closing shift at the grocery store while everyone else danced and made memories. When the slideshow ended, people began mingling again, the formality of assigned seating dissolved. A DJ started playing music, and a few brave souls headed to the dance floor. Nathan stood near the windows overlooking the city, nursing a drink he did not particularly want. "Quite a trip down memory lane," Willow said, appearing beside him. This close, he caught the scent of her perfume, something subtle and expensive. "Yeah, strange how some things feel like yesterday and others like a completely different life." "Do you ever miss it? High school?" Nathan considered the question. "Honestly, no. Those weren't easy years for me." Willow was quiet for a moment. "I remember you always looked tired. You worked a lot, didn't you?" He was surprised she had noticed. "2 jobs most of the time. My dad was sick and my mom did her best, but there were medical bills. I had to help." "I never knew that. I'm sorry." "It was a long time ago." Nathan took a sip of his drink. "It taught me a lot, actually, about priorities and what matters. Is your father?" "He passed away my junior year of college, but I got to make sure he was comfortable those last few years. Good care, good facility." "That mattered to me." Willow's hand briefly touched his arm, a gesture of comfort that sent electricity through him. "I wish I had known you better back then. I feel like I missed something important." Nathan met her eyes, trying to read the meaning behind her words. We ran in different circles. Circles I'm not sure were worth running in, she said. I spent so much time worrying about the wrong things. Who was popular, who was dating who, what college would look best. I barely thought about what I actually wanted. Did you figure it out eventually? Starting to. She smiled, but it carried a hint of sadness. My marriage fell apart because I married someone I thought I should marry, not someone I truly loved. He was successful, came from the right kind of family, checked all the boxes, except the ones that actually matter. I'm sorry you went through that. I'm not anymore. It taught me to pay attention to what's real instead of what looks good. She turned to face him fully. What about you? You said you came close to marriage once. Nathan hesitated. Talking about Alina felt like opening old wounds, but something about Willow's openness invited honesty. Her name was Alina. We met at a trade conference about 8 years ago. She was smart, driven, understood the business world. We dated for 3 years. What happened? She wanted the life that came with dating someone successful. The parties, the profile, the status. She didn't particularly want me, just the version of me that looked good at charity galas. Nathan swirled his drink. I realized I was making the same mistake you described. Checking boxes instead of following my heart. So you ended it. We ended it together, really. Once we both admitted what it was, there was no point continuing. That took courage or stubbornness. I'm not always sure which. Willow laughed, a genuine sound that made Nathan's chest feel warm. I'm going to guess courage. You always struck me as someone who knew what he wanted. Did I? Nathan asked. Because I remember feeling lost most of the time. Maybe that's different, feeling lost versus being lost. She paused, glancing toward the dance floor where several couples swayed to a slow song. Do you dance? Nathan's pulse quickened. Not well. Neither do I. Want to be terrible at it together. He set down his drink and offered his hand. I'd like that. They moved to the edge of the dance floor, and Nathan rested one hand on Willow's waist, acutely aware of the warmth of her body through the fabric of her dress. She placed her hand on his shoulder, and they began to move in a simple rhythm that matched the music's slow tempo. See. Not so terrible, Willow said. The song just started. Give it time. She laughed again, and Nathan felt something loosen in his chest, some tension he had been carrying for 20 years. This close, he could see the gold flecks in her brown eyes, the way her smile made her whole face light up. Can I tell you something? Willow asked. Of course. I had such a crush on you senior year. Nathan nearly stopped dancing. What? It's true. You probably never noticed because I was dating Brad and I was too chicken to do anything about it. But there was this day in English class. Remember when we had to present those poetry analyses? Nathan remembered. He had analyzed a Mary Oliver poem about the journey home, had talked about longing and belonging in a way that made the room go quiet. You spoke, and I saw you differently, Willow continued. Not as the quiet guy who kept to himself, but as this deep, feeling person who understood things everyone else was too superficial to see. I went home that night and couldn't stop thinking about it, about you. Why didn't you say anything? I was 17 and stupid and scared. Brad was what everyone expected. You were this unknown variable, and I didn't have the courage to find out what might happen. She met his eyes. I've regretted that for 20 years. Nathan's world tilted. All this time, he had assumed his feelings were one-sided, a foolish teenage obsession he had never quite shaken. I had the biggest crush on you, from sophomore year until graduation. I used to rearrange my schedule to make sure we'd cross paths in the hallway. You're kidding. I wish I was. It would sound less pathetic. It's not pathetic, it's sweet. Willow's hand tightened slightly on his shoulder. Why didn't you tell me? Same reason, I guess. You seemed so far out of my league. I figured you'd laugh or feel sorry for me, and I couldn't handle either option. I wouldn't have laughed. I know that now. But at 17, everything feels like life or death. They continued swaying as the song transitioned to another slow melody. Other couples moved around them, but Nathan barely noticed. His entire awareness had narrowed to the woman in his arms and the revelations hanging in the air between them. So we were both too scared to say anything, Willow said, and we wasted 20 years. Maybe not wasted. Maybe we needed those years to become people who could actually appreciate each other. That's a generous interpretation. I'm an optimist, Nathan said. Comes with the territory when you build something from nothing. Tell me about your company, the real story, not the modest version. Nathan hesitated. He had learned to be careful about revealing his financial success too early. People treated you differently when they knew, but Willow was looking at him with genuine interest, and he found himself wanting to be honest. It's called Grayson Industrial. We manufacture precision components for heavy machinery. Started in a rented warehouse with 3 employees and a lot of debt. Now we have 4 facilities and annual revenue around $150 million. Willow's eyes widened slightly. Nathan, that's incredible. It's been a lot of work. A lot of years of 18-hour days and constant stress. But I'm proud of what we've built. We treat our employees well, pay above industry standard, offer profit sharing. I remember what it was like to work hard and struggle, and I didn't want to create that kind of company. That's who you were in high school, too. You remember when Tommy Chen's locker got broken into and his basketball shoes were stolen. You bought him new ones and left them anonymously. Nathan felt heat rise to his face. How did you know that was me? I saw you at the sporting goods store, and then 2 days later Tommy had identical shoes. I can add 2 and 2. She smiled. You were kind when nobody was watching. That's the rarest thing. The song ended, and the DJ immediately launched into something upbeat. Couples around them either adapted to the faster tempo or left the floor. Nathan and Willow stepped back from each other, but she kept hold of his hand. Want to get some air? She asked. It's getting warm in here. They made their way to the hotel's rooftop terrace, which was open to guests. The night air was cool and clear, the city lights spreading out below them in a glittering grid. A few other people dotted the space, but it was mostly empty. Nathan and Willow found a spot by the railing, standing close enough that their shoulders almost touched. I moved back here 5 years ago, Willow said, picking up an earlier thread of conversation. After my divorce, I needed to be somewhere that felt like home, or at least somewhere familiar. What do you do for work? I'm an architect. Residential mostly, some commercial projects. It's what I always wanted to do, actually. I loved drawing houses when I was a kid, imagining spaces where people could be happy. Are you with a firm? I have my own practice. Small, just me and 2 associates, but we've been building a good reputation. It's scary being out on my own, but also freeing. I know that feeling. There's something about building your own thing, answering to yourself. Willow turned to look at him. Do you ever get lonely, running a company like that, all the responsibility on your shoulders? The question was more perceptive than Nathan expected. Sometimes. It's isolating at the top. Everyone wants something from you, and you're never quite sure who sees you versus who sees the position. Is that why you didn't fight harder to make it work with Alina? Partly. I think I knew she loved the lifestyle more than she loved me, and I didn't have the energy to compete with my own success. That's a heartbreaking sentence. Nathan laughed, though it came out a bit hollow. Welcome to my dating life. What about you? Have you dated since the divorce? A few times. Nothing serious. It's hard to trust my judgment after making such a big mistake. She paused. My ex-husband was a lawyer. Very successful, very charming, very good at making me feel like I was lucky to be with him. It took me years to realize he was controlling and emotionally manipulative. When I finally left, he made it as difficult as possible. I'm sorry, that sounds awful. It was. But I got through it and now I'm more careful. I pay attention to how people treat waiters and whether they listen when I talk and if they remember small things I mention in passing. She looked at Nathan. You always listened. Even in high school when we barely talked, I noticed that about you. When someone spoke, you actually heard them. My mom used to say everyone has something to teach you if you're willing to learn. Smart woman. She is. She lives in Florida now, retired. I tried to get her to move closer, but she likes the beach. Nathan smiled. She's thrilled I'm still single, by the way. Asks about my dating life every time we talk. What do you tell her? That I'm working on it. Which is a lie usually, but it makes her feel better. Willow laughed. My mom does the same thing. She's convinced I'm going to die alone surrounded by blueprints. Could be worse ways to go. True. They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching the city below. Nathan felt something shifting between them, a possibility that had not existed an hour ago. Or maybe it had always existed, buried under years and fear and the paths they had taken separately. Can I ask you something? Nathan said. Anything. If we had dated in high school, do you think it would have worked? Willow considered the question seriously. Honestly, probably not. I was too immature, too concerned with appearances. I would have hurt you, maybe not on purpose, but I wasn't ready to appreciate someone real. That's what I think too. I was so focused on survival and getting out that I didn't have room for much else. We would have been a disaster. But now. The question hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. Nathan turned to face her fully. Now I think we're different people. Better people, maybe. People who know what matters. And what matters, Nathan Grayson? Authenticity. Kindness. Someone who makes you want to be better without making you feel like you're not enough. He took a breath. Someone who makes you feel like the scared kid and the successful adult can exist in the same person, and both are worth loving. Willow's eyes shimmered in the city lights. That's exactly what matters. They stood close now, Nathan's heart hammering in his chest. 20 years of wondering, of carrying this feeling, and suddenly the moment was here, real and terrifying and perfect. I should tell you something, Nathan said. I never really got over you. I dated other people, built a whole life, but some part of me was always stuck in senior year English class, watching you laugh at something Sarah Mitchell whispered. Nathan. I know that's probably too much honesty for a reunion, but I'm done being 17 and scared. I like you, Willow. I liked you then, and I like you now, and if there's any chance you might feel the same way, I'd really like to take you to dinner. Willow reached up and touched his face, her hand warm against his cheek. I feel the same way. I've felt it all night, like something clicking into place that was always supposed to fit. Is that a yes to dinner? That's a yes to dinner and whatever comes after if you're brave enough. Nathan smiled, feeling lighter than he had in years. I think I can manage brave. She kissed him then, soft and tentative at first, then deeper as Nathan wrapped his arms around her waist and pulled her closer. She tasted like wine and possibility, and kissing her felt like coming home after a very long journey. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing harder. Wow, Willow said. Yeah, we should probably go back inside before people start talking. Let them talk. Nathan Grayson, are you being rebellious? Maybe a little. 20 years of being responsible. I'm due for some rebellion. They kissed again, and Nathan felt the years falling away, the fear and doubt and loneliness dissolving in the reality of Willow in his arms, kissing him back like she meant it. When they finally did return to the ballroom, hand in hand, Several people noticed and exchanged knowing looks. But Nathan did not care. For the first time since deciding to attend this reunion, he was glad he came. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of conversation and dancing and stolen moments when Nathan and Willow would find excuses to step away from the crowd. They exchanged phone numbers, made plans for dinner the following weekend, talked about their favorite restaurants and their shared love of old movies and the way their lives had unfolded in unexpected directions. "I can't believe we wasted 20 years," Willow said as the event was winding down. "We didn't waste them, we lived them, and now we're here. Here is pretty good. Here is exceptional." They left the hotel together and Nathan walked Willow to her car. The parking garage was mostly empty now, their footsteps echoing in the concrete space. At her car, a sensible sedan that somehow fit her perfectly, Willow turned and wrapped her arms around Nathan's neck. "Thank you for being brave enough to tell me how you felt. Thank you for feeling the same way. Call me tomorrow. I'll call you tonight when I get home. Even better." They kissed goodbye, and Nathan waited until she drove away before heading to his own car. The drive home took 40 minutes, and he spent it replaying every moment of the evening, every word and touch and revelation. When he pulled into the driveway of his house, a modern design in the suburbs that had always felt too big and too empty, he sat for a moment before going inside. Then he called Willow. "That was fast," she answered, laughter in her voice. "I told you I'd call. You did. I like a man who keeps his promises." They talked for 2 hours, about everything and nothing, the conversation flowing easily from topic to topic. Nathan learned that she was afraid of heights but loved hiking, that she had a rescue dog named Murphy, that she cried during animated movies and refused to apologize for it. He told her about the pottery class he had taken last year on a whim, about his attempts to learn guitar that ended in frustration, about the cabin he owned in northern Wisconsin where he went to escape the demands of the company. "Take me there sometime," Willow said. "I will. It's beautiful in the fall. I'd like that." When they finally hung up, Nathan felt exhausted and exhilarated. He got ready for bed, but sleep took a long time to come. His mind kept returning to the feel of Willow's hand in his, the sound of her laugh, the possibility of something real unfolding. The next morning he woke to a text from her. "Good morning. Last night was wonderful. Still up for dinner next weekend?" Nathan responded immediately, "Absolutely. Been thinking about it since I woke up." Her reply came quickly. "Me too. This week is going to drag." The days until their dinner did drag, but they were also full of constant texting and long phone calls. Nathan learned more about Willow's work, her current project designing a community center that would serve an underprivileged neighborhood. She learned about his company's expansion plans, the new facility he was opening in Ohio, the constant juggling act of growth and sustainability. "You sound passionate about it," she said during one of their calls. "I am. It's not just business to me. Those 800 employees have families, mortgages, dreams. I take that responsibility seriously. That's what makes you different. A lot of CEOs see workers as line items on a spreadsheet. My dad was a line item on a spreadsheet. I remember what that felt like from the inside." Friday finally arrived, and Nathan spent an embarrassing amount of time deciding what to wear. He settled on dark jeans and a button-down shirt, casual but nice. He picked Willow up at 7, and when she opened the door wearing a red dress that made his brain temporarily stop functioning, he knew he was in serious trouble. "You look beautiful," he managed. "You clean up pretty well yourself." He had made reservations at a small Italian place downtown, family-owned and consistently excellent. The hostess seated them at a corner table, intimate and quiet. They ordered wine and appetizers, falling into easy conversation that picked up where their phone calls had left off. "I have a confession," Willow said as they waited for their entrees. "Should I be worried? Maybe a little. I looked you up online, your company, I mean." Nathan set down his wine glass. And you're being incredibly modest about your success. Articles I read called you one of the most innovative manufacturers in the region. There was a piece about your employee profit-sharing program being a model for the industry. I told you we treat our people well. You didn't tell me that you turned down a $200 million acquisition offer last year because you didn't trust the buying company to maintain your employment standards. Nathan shifted in his seat. Who reported that? Industry journal. Anonymous sources, but pretty detailed. Willow leaned forward. I'm not bringing this up to make you uncomfortable. I'm bringing it up because it's impressive. You built something meaningful and you're protecting it. That takes integrity. I just don't want to be the kind of person who sells out the people who helped build the company. Exactly. That's who you are. She reached across the table and took his hand. I'm not interested in your money, Nathan. I need you to know that. I have my own career, my own life. But I am interested in the kind of man who values people over profit. I value profit too, Nathan said with a smile. Let's not make me sound like a complete saint. Fair enough. You're a pragmatic saint. Their food arrived and they spent the next hour eating and talking and laughing. Nathan told her about the disaster of his first major business deal. When he had been so nervous, he knocked over a water pitcher during the presentation. Willow told him about the time she designed a house with the bathroom on the blueprints, but forgot to include it in the final specifications, leading to a very awkward conversation with the contractor. "How did you fix that?" Nathan asked, laughing. "I didn't. The contractor fixed it and gave me grief about it for the entire project. I deserved it." After dinner, they walked along the riverwalk, the water dark and reflective under the streetlights. Willow slipped her hand into Nathan's, and the simple gesture felt monumental. "I have a question," she said, "and you can tell me if I'm moving too fast. Okay. Where do you see this going? Us, I mean." Nathan stopped walking and turned to face her. "Honestly, I see it going everywhere. I know that's fast, and I know we're just starting, but I've spent 20 years thinking about you. Now that I actually have a chance, I'm not interested in playing it cool or taking it slow." "What does that mean, practically?" "It means I want to see you as much as possible. It means I want to introduce you to my friends and my mom, and show you the cabin and learn everything about you. It means I'm all in if you are." Willow was quiet for a moment, her eyes searching his face. "I'm scared. My last relationship was such a disaster, and jumping into something intense feels risky. I understand that, and I'll go at whatever pace you need, but I want you to know where I stand." "I'm scared," she repeated. "But I'm also more excited about you than I've been about anyone in my entire life. So yes, I'm all in too. But if I start pulling back or getting weird, call me on it. Don't let me sabotage this because I'm afraid. Deal?" They sealed it with a kiss, right there on the riverwalk with joggers passing by and boats drifting on the water. Nathan felt something settle in his chest, a sense of rightness that he had been missing for years. The weeks that followed were a blur of dinners and weekend trips and long conversations that stretched late into the night. Nathan took Willow to the cabin, where they hiked through autumn forests and sat by the fire and talked about their fears and dreams. Willow introduced Nathan to her dog Murphy, who immediately decided Nathan was his new best friend. They met each other's friends, integrated into each other's lives with surprising ease. 2 months in, Nathan invited Willow to his company's annual holiday party. It was a big event, employees and their families filling a rented event space, and he was nervous about mixing his professional and personal lives. But Willow charmed everyone she met, asking genuine questions and remembering details and making people feel seen. "Your girlfriend is lovely," his operations manager said, cornering Nathan by the bar. "She is. You going to marry her?" Nathan laughed. "We've been dating for 2 months, Tom. So, when you know, I married my wife 6 months after we met. That was 32 years ago." After the party, as Nathan drove Willow home, she was quiet. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Your employees love you. Like, genuinely love you. Do you know how rare that is?" I try to be fair. "It's more than fair. That woman Linda from accounting. She told me you paid for her daughter's cancer treatment when her insurance wouldn't cover it. You covered the whole thing and told her it was a company benefit." Nathan felt his face heat. "Linda's a good employee. She shouldn't have to choose between her daughter's health and bankruptcy. You gave her $50,000. The company gave her $50,000. We have a discretionary fund for situations like that. That you set up and personally fund." Willow reached over and took his hand. "You're a good man, Nathan Grayson. I'm just doing what's right." "That's exactly my point." In January, they took a trip to Florida to visit Nathan's mother. Carol Grayson was a tiny woman with sharp eyes and her son's smile. She welcomed Willow with warmth and spent the weekend telling embarrassing stories about Nathan's childhood. "He was always so serious," Carol said, flipping through old photo albums. "Even as a little boy, he worried about everyone. When his father got sick, Nathan was only 15, but he took it on himself to help. Got those jobs, never complained, just did what needed doing." "Mom," Nathan said, embarrassed, "I'm allowed to brag about my son." She turned to Willow. "He's a good man, but I think you already know that." "I do." "Are you going to marry him?" "Mom," Willow laughed. "We're taking it one day at a time, Carol. That's a diplomatic answer. I like you." On the flight home, Willow rested her head on Nathan's shoulder. "Your mom is wonderful. She embarrassed me thoroughly, if that's what you mean. She loves you. It's sweet." "What did she say to you when I went to get the car?" Willow smiled. "She told me you've been in love with me since high school and she's glad I finally noticed." "She did not." "She absolutely did. Then she told me if I hurt you, she'd come after me with a wooden spoon." Nathan groaned. "I apologize for my mother." "Don't. I like that she's protective of you. Shows she raised you right." By spring, they had fallen into a comfortable rhythm. Willow stayed at Nathan's house most weekends, and he kept clothes at her apartment. They talked about moving in together, but decided to wait, both aware that they were building something important and willing to let it develop naturally. In May, Willow's firm landed a major commercial project, designing a new office complex downtown. It was the biggest job she had ever taken on, and she was simultaneously thrilled and terrified. "You can do this," Nathan said when she called him, panicking about the scope of work. "It's so much bigger than anything I've handled. What if I mess it up?" "You won't. You're brilliant and you're going to design something amazing. But if you're overwhelmed, hire more help, scale up to meet the opportunity." "That's scary." "I know. But that's how you grow. You're at the same place I was about 10 years ago, realizing the business needed to expand or stagnate. It's terrifying, but it's also exciting. Will you help me think through it?" "Of course. Come over tonight. We'll order food and go through your options." They spent that evening with Willow's financial projections spread across Nathan's dining room table, talking through hiring decisions and cash flow and growth strategies. Nathan shared his own experiences, the mistakes he made and the lessons he learned. By the end of the night, Willow had a plan and a timeline, and Nathan had fallen even more in love with her, watching her brain work through complex problems. "Thank you," she said, gathering up her papers. "I don't know what I'd do without you. You'd figure it out. You're brilliant." "I'm serious, Nathan. You make me braver. When I'm scared, I think about what you do and it helps. I think about you the same way. You make me remember there's life outside of work. They stood in his kitchen, the remains of their takeout dinner still on the counter, and Nathan felt the words rising in his throat. He had been holding them back for weeks, maybe months, afraid it was too soon, but they demanded to be said. I love you, he said. I'm completely in love with you, and I have been since you walked into that reunion last year, maybe even before that, maybe since senior year. Willow's eyes filled with tears. I love you too, so much it scares me sometimes. Why does it scare you? Because I've never felt this way before. My marriage never came close to this. What we have is so real and so good, and I keep waiting for something to go wrong. Nathan pulled her into his arms. Nothing's going to go wrong. We're going to keep choosing each other every day, and we're going to build something lasting. Promise. I promise. They made love that night with a new intensity, the words they had finally spoken changing everything. Afterward, wrapped in Nathan's sheets, Willow traced patterns on his chest. Move in with me, Nathan said. What? Move in here. I know we said we'd wait, but I don't want to wait anymore. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want this to be our home, not just mine. Nathan. If it's too fast, tell me. I'll back off. But if you feel the same way I do, then let's stop being careful and just be together. Willow was quiet for a long moment, then she smiled. Okay. Okay? Yes, let's do it. Let's be reckless and move in together after less than a year. Technically, we've known each other for over 20 years. Good point. That's definitely enough time. They laughed, and Nathan kissed her, feeling like his life was finally clicking into place the way it was always supposed to. Willow moved in that July, bringing her furniture and her dog and her chaotic collection of architecture books. They merged their lives, learning each other's habits and quirks, negotiating closet space and morning routines. It was not always smooth. Willow was messy, leaving coffee cups around the house and forgetting to close cabinets. Nathan was obsessively neat and had strong opinions about the proper way to load a dishwasher. They had their first real fight about something stupid. Neither could remember what later, but it felt devastating in the moment. Maybe this was a mistake, Willow said, tears streaming down her face. Don't say that. We're too different. I'm going to drive you crazy. Nathan took her hands. You already drive me crazy in the best possible way. And yes, we're different, but that's good. I need someone to shake up my rigid routines. You need someone to keep you from losing your keys 4 times a week. 3 times a week. I stand corrected. Look, we're going to fight. We're going to annoy each other. But at the end of the day, I love you and I want to figure this out. Do you want that too? Willow nodded, wiping her eyes. I'm sorry I freaked out. I'm sorry I was being controlling about the dishwasher. You weren't being controlling. You were being you, and I love you. They worked through it, learning to communicate better, to give each other space and grace. By August, they had found their rhythm. Nathan learned to tolerate a little mess. Willow learned to close cabinets. They both learned that loving someone meant accepting imperfections and choosing to find them endearing rather than infuriating. In September, Nathan's company hit a major milestone, securing a contract with a Fortune 500 company that would expand their reach internationally. It meant more travel, more responsibility, more pressure. He worried about how it would affect his relationship with Willow. I support you completely, she said when he shared his concerns. This is huge for your company. We'll figure out the logistics. I might need to be gone a week or 2 at a time. Then I'll miss you when you're gone and attack you when you get back. We'll make it work. She kept that promise. When Nathan traveled to Germany for 2 weeks to set up a partnership with a European distributor, they talked every day despite the time difference. When he returned, exhausted and jet-lagged, Willow picked him up from the airport with Murphy in the car and drove him home to a home-cooked meal. "I could get used to this," Nathan said, pulling her onto his lap at the dinner table. "You better. I'm not going anywhere." As fall arrived again, almost a year since the reunion, Nathan started thinking about the future in concrete terms. He wanted to marry Willow. He wanted to build a life with her that went beyond cohabitation, wanted to make promises and commitments that lasted forever. But he wanted to do it right. He talked to his mother first, calling her on a Saturday morning when Willow was at the office catching up on work. "I want to ask Willow to marry me," he said. Carol Grayson squealed, actually squealed, which made Nathan pull the phone away from his ear. "Finally! I was wondering when you'd get around to it. We've only been together a year. You've been in love with her for 20. Don't give me timeline excuses. Do you have a ring?" "Not yet. I wanted to talk to you first. Your grandmother's ring is in my safe deposit box. I've been saving it for you." Nathan felt emotion swell in his chest. His grandmother had died when he was 12, but he remembered her clearly, a strong woman who had loved fiercely and without condition. "Are you sure?" "Of course I'm sure. She'd love that. It's going to Willow. When are you going to ask?" "I'm not sure yet. I want it to be perfect." "It will be, honey. You'll know the right moment." The ring arrived a week later, shipped overnight with insurance. Nathan opened the box in his office at work, staring at the vintage setting, the central diamond surrounded by delicate filigree. It was beautiful and timeless, exactly right for Willow. Now he just needed to figure out how to ask. He considered elaborate proposals, grand gestures, but none of them felt right. Willow was not someone who wanted a public spectacle. She valued authenticity and intimacy. So Nathan decided to keep it simple. In October, he suggested a weekend at the cabin. They had not been since early in their relationship, and the fall colors would be at their peak. Willow agreed immediately, always happy for a chance to escape the city. They drove up on a Friday afternoon, Murphy asleep in the back seat. The cabin was exactly as Nathan remembered, surrounded by trees blazing with red and gold. They unpacked and went for a hike, the air crisp and clean, leaves crunching under their feet. "I love it here," Willow said, her hand in his as they walked. "It feels like the world stops and we can just be. That's why I bought it. Needed a place to think. Do you ever get lonely here by yourself?" "I did, before you. Now when I'm here alone, I just miss you and wish you were with me." That night they made dinner together, a simple pasta dish with wine and bread. They ate by the fire, talking about everything and nothing. Nathan felt the ring in his pocket, heavy with possibility. "Can we go outside?" he asked after dinner. "The stars should be incredible tonight." They bundled up and walked down to the dock that extended into the small lake. The sky was clear, stars scattered across the darkness like diamonds. Willow leaned against Nathan, his arms around her waist, both of them looking up. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "It is." Nathan took a breath. "Willow, can I tell you something?" "Of course. I've been thinking about the reunion, about how close we came to missing each other. If I hadn't gone, if you hadn't been there, we might never have found this. But we did find it. We did. And I don't want to waste another day. I don't want to be careful or cautious or wait for the perfect moment. Every moment with you is perfect." He turned her around to face him, pulling the ring box from his pocket. Willow's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide. "I've loved you for 20 years, Nathan said. "I loved you when I didn't even know you, and I love you more every day now that I do. You make me laugh and challenge me and make me want to be better. You're my best friend and my favorite person, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Willow Rosewood, will you marry me?" Tears streamed down her face, but she was smiling. "Yes, yes, absolutely yes." Nathan slipped the ring onto her finger, his hands shaking slightly. Then he kissed her, tasting salt from her tears and feeling joy radiate through his entire body. When they pulled apart, Willow looked at the ring, then back at him. "This is your grandmother's ring." "How did you know?" "Your mom showed me pictures when we visited. She told me stories about her." Willow's voice broke. "Nathan, this is too precious. It's perfect for you. My grandmother would have loved you. Strong and creative and kind. She would have said we were meant to be." I think she might be right. They stayed on the dock for another hour, wrapped in blankets and each other, making plans and dreaming about the future. When they finally went back inside, they called Nathan's mother, who cried happy tears and demanded they come visit soon so she could start planning. Then they called Willow's parents, who were equally thrilled. "I can't believe this is real," Willow said later, curled up next to Nathan in bed. "A year ago I went to that reunion dreading it, and now I'm engaged to the man I've been halfway in love with since I was 17. Only halfway. Okay, maybe more than halfway, maybe completely. I just didn't let myself admit it. We have a lot of lost time to make up for." "Then let's get started." They made love slowly, tenderly, sealing the promise they had just made. Afterward, Nathan held Willow close, listening to her breathing even out as she fell asleep. He felt complete in a way he never had before, like all the pieces of his life had finally aligned. The wedding planning started immediately. Willow wanted something simple and meaningful, and Nathan was happy to let her take the lead. They decided on a spring wedding, giving them 6 months to plan. It was not enough time according to the wedding planner Willow's mother insisted they hire, but they made it work. Nathan threw himself into the preparations with surprising enthusiasm. He had opinions about flowers and music, and insisted on writing his own vows. His employees were thrilled, many of them having met Willow at various company events and approved of her thoroughly. "About time you settled down," Tom said. "You were getting cranky in your old age." "I'm 38, exactly. Old." The wedding took place on a perfect April day in a garden venue overlooking a lake. Willow wore a simple ivory dress that made Nathan forget how to breathe when she walked down the aisle. His mother cried through the entire ceremony. Willow's father, who had been skeptical of Nathan at first, gave a toast that made everyone laugh and cry in equal measure. When it was time for Nathan's vows, he pulled out the piece of paper he had written and rewritten a dozen times. Then he folded it and put it back in his pocket. "I wrote something beautiful and poetic," he said, looking at Willow. "But standing here looking at you, all those carefully chosen words feel inadequate, so I'm just going to tell you the truth. I love you more than I thought it was possible to love another person. You make every day better just by existing in it. You're patient with my quirks, you call me on my nonsense, you make me laugh when I take myself too seriously. I promise to choose you every single day for the rest of our lives. I promise to support your dreams, to be your partner in every sense, to love you in the big moments and the small ones. I promise to never let you forget how extraordinary you are. And I promise that no matter what life throws at us, we'll face it together." Willow was crying, her mascara running, but she was smiling too. "How am I supposed to follow that? You're incredibly creative. I'm sure you'll think of something." She laughed through her tears. "I love you, Nathan Grayson. I love your kindness and your integrity, and the way you always leave me notes in the morning before you go to work. I love how you think about other people first and how you've built a company that reflects your values. I love how you make me brave and how you believe in me even when I doubt myself. I promise to love you through easy times and hard times. I promise to be honest, even when it's difficult. I promise to make our house a home and to always close the kitchen cabinets." The guests laughed. "I promise that I will never stop being grateful that you walked into that reunion and gave me a second chance at something. I was too young to appreciate the first time around. And I promise that for the rest of our lives, you'll never have to wonder if someone sees you and loves you exactly as you are. Because I do, and I always will." When the officiant pronounced them married, Nathan kissed his wife like his life depended on it, vaguely aware of applause and cheering but mostly just focused on Willow, on the fact that she was his and he was hers, and they had finally found their way to each other. The reception was a blur of dancing and toasts and joy. Nathan's employees formed a conga line that snaked through the entire venue. Willow's architecture colleagues built a structurally impressive champagne glass tower. At one point, Nathan and Willow snuck away from their own party, finding a quiet spot by the lake. "Hello, wife," Nathan said. "Hello, husband." Willow leaned against him. "This is the best day of my life." "Mine too. Though I have a feeling there are a lot of good days ahead." "Is that your CEO optimism talking?" "That's my husband who is hopelessly in love talking." They returned to the party, danced until late, and finally left in a car decorated with tin cans and streamers. They spent their wedding night at a hotel near the airport, flying out the next morning for a 2-week honeymoon in Italy. The honeymoon was perfect, days filled with art and food and exploring ancient cities, nights spent in beautiful hotels and each other's arms. They talked about the future, about children and career goals and the life they wanted to build together. "I want kids," Willow said one evening as they watched the sunset over the Mediterranean. "Not right away, but eventually. Maybe 2. I want that too. I want our kids to have what I didn't growing up, stability and opportunity and parents who are crazy about each other. They'll have all of that." When they returned home, they settled into married life with surprising ease. Work was demanding for both of them. Nathan's international expansion continued, and Willow's commercial project was in full swing. But they made their relationship the priority, having dinner together whenever possible, taking long weekends at the cabin, supporting each other through the stresses and celebrating the victories. A year into their marriage, Willow told Nathan she was ready to start trying for a baby. They approached it with the same partnership they brought to everything else, making plans and preparing their lives for the change ahead. It took 6 months, and when Willow showed Nathan the positive pregnancy test, he picked her up and spun her around the kitchen, both of them laughing and crying at once. "We're having a baby," Willow said, wonder in her voice. "We're having a baby," Nathan repeated, the reality sinking in. He was going to be a father. He was going to have a family with the woman he loved. The pregnancy was relatively easy, though Willow was exhausted through the first trimester and developed bizarre food cravings in the second. Nathan attended every doctor's appointment, held her hair when morning sickness struck, and read parenting books with a seriousness that made Willow laugh. "You're going to be an amazing dad," she told him one night, watching him assemble a crib with intense focus. "I hope so. I want to do this right." "You will. Look at how you treat everyone in your life. Look at the man you are. Our baby is so lucky." Their daughter was born on a snowy January night, arriving 3 weeks early and in a hurry. Nathan held Willow's hand through the whole thing in awe of her strength. When the doctor placed their daughter in Willow's arms, Nathan felt his heart expand in ways he had not known were possible. "She's perfect," Willow whispered. "She is." They named her Grace Carol after Nathan's mother. Carol Grayson flew up immediately and spent a week helping them navigate the chaos of new parenthood. Nathan took a month off work, his first extended absence from the company in years, and did not regret it for a second. Those early weeks were exhausting and beautiful, late-night feedings and diaper changes, and the miracle of watching this tiny person start to exist in the world. "I can't imagine life before her," Nathan said one night, rocking Grace while Willow slept. When he returned to work, he did so with new perspective. The company was important, but it was not everything. His family came first. He delegated more, empowered his leadership team, made sure he was home for dinner every night unless absolutely necessary. Some of his board members questioned the shift, but Nathan did not care. He had finally found balance. Willow returned to work part-time when Grace was 6 months old, and they hired a nanny they both loved. Life became a beautiful chaos of work and family and stolen moments of romance when Grace was sleeping. They were exhausted and happy, their love deepening as they navigated parenthood together. 2 years later, Willow got pregnant again. This time with a boy they named after Nathan's father, David. The Grayson family of 4 became a family of 5, and their house filled with noise and laughter and the beautiful mess of childhood. Nathan looked around sometimes, at his wife playing with their children, at the life they had built, and marveled at how close he had come to missing all of it. If he had not attended that reunion, if he had not been brave enough to tell Willow how he felt, none of this would exist. On their 5th wedding anniversary, they went back to the cabin, Grace and David staying with Nathan's mother. It was their first night away from the kids since David was born, and they felt simultaneously relieved and guilty. "They're fine," Willow said, reading Nathan's expression. "Your mom has them and we deserve one night. I know, I just miss them already." "Me too. But I also really like having you all to myself." They recreated their engagement night, walking down to the dock and looking at the stars. Nathan wrapped his arms around Willow, pulling her close. "Best 5 years of my life," he said. "Mine too. Though I have to say, these 5 years were very full. 2 kids, your company going international, my firm tripling in size. We've been busy." "Too busy. No, just right." She turned in his arms. "I love our life, Nathan. I love you. I love that we took a chance on each other and built something real. I'd do it all again in a heartbeat. Every moment, every choice, every sleepless night with sick kids, all of it. Even the time David threw up on you at the office Christmas party, even that. Though I could have done without my CFO taking pictures." Willow laughed, the sound carrying across the water. "You handled it with remarkable grace. I've learned to roll with chaos, comes with the territory of loving you. Hey, I mean that as a compliment. You made my organized life messy in the best possible way." They stood together in comfortable silence, the stars bright above them, years of love and partnership solid beneath them. Nathan thought about the boy he had been, working himself to exhaustion and dreaming of a future that seemed impossibly far away. He thought about the teenager who watched Willow from across classrooms, never imagining she felt the same. He thought about all the years between then and now, the separate paths that had somehow led them back to each other. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what? For seeing me, for loving me, for building this life with me. Thank you for being the kind of man worth building a life with. For being the person who makes me better. For giving me Grace and David and this incredible family. We did that together. We did. And we're going to keep doing it together for about 50 more years." "Only 50, Nathan teased. "Fine, 60. But after that, you're on your own." He kissed her, tasting wine and happiness and the future stretching out before them. When they finally went back inside, they made love by the firelight, taking their time, savoring each other. Later, wrapped in blankets and each other, Willow traced the lines of Nathan's face. "I love you," she said. "Not because of what you've built or what you provide or any of the external things. I love you because of who you are when it's just us. The man who leaves me notes, who reads bedtime stories in funny voices, who takes responsibility seriously but never himself too seriously. That's the man I fell in love with. That's the man I choose every day." Nathan felt his throat tighten with emotion. "You're everything I never knew I needed. Everything I was always looking for. I love you, Willow, more than words can say." They fell asleep like that, tangled together, the cabin quiet around them. Outside, the stars continued their ancient dance across the sky, witnessing one more love story in the endless procession of human hearts finding their way home. Years passed, as they do. Grace and David grew. The company continued to thrive. Willow's firm became one of the most respected in the region. Nathan and Willow grew older together, gray creeping into their hair, lines forming around their eyes from years of laughter. They fought sometimes, usually about small things that felt large in the moment. But they always came back together, always chose each other, always remembered what mattered. On their 10th anniversary, they threw a party at their house, now expanded to accommodate their growing family. Friends and family filled the backyard, Grace and David running with cousins and friends. Nathan stood on the deck, watching the chaos, feeling deeply content. "Happy anniversary, boss," Tom said, appearing at his elbow with a beer. 10 years. Who would have thought? "Anyone who saw them together," another voice said. It was Linda from accounting, the woman whose daughter Nathan had helped years ago. "They were meant to be." "Were they?" Nathan asked, genuinely curious. "Of course. You can see it in how they look at each other. Like the other person is the best thing that ever happened to them." Nathan smiled. "Because she is." Willow appeared then, her hair pulled back, wearing jeans and a simple shirt, beautiful in the effortless way that always took his breath away. She slipped her hand into his. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "About how lucky I am, about how different my life could have been." "But this is the life we have. This beautiful, messy, perfect life." Grace ran up then, grass-stained and excited. "Dad, can we do sparklers when it gets dark?" "Absolutely." "And can we have cake soon? David says he's starving." "David said that 5 minutes ago," Willow pointed out. "He can wait." Grace rolled her eyes with the drama only an 8-year-old can muster and ran back to her friends. Nathan watched her go, this little person he and Willow had created, full of energy and opinions and so much life. "We did good," he said. "We really did." As evening fell and the sparklers came out, as cake was served and toasts were made, Nathan stood with his arm around his wife and looked at the life they had built. It was not perfect. There were challenges and stresses and days when everything felt overwhelming. But it was real and full and deeply, profoundly good. That night, after everyone had gone home and the kids were asleep, Nathan and Willow sat on their back porch with glasses of wine, tired but happy. 10 years, Willow said. "Feels like forever and like no time at all." "I know what you mean." "Do you ever wonder what teenage us would think of all this?" Nathan considered. "I think teenage me would be in complete disbelief. The company, the family, you, it would seem impossible. Teenage me would probably have a panic attack about the responsibility. But then she'd see how happy we are and relax. I hope they'd both be proud of us, of the people we became and the life we chose. I think they would be. We took the scared, hopeful parts of who we were and turned them into something beautiful." Nathan raised his glass. "To 10 years. To the life we've built. To 50 more years of building together." Willow clinked her glass against his. "To us. To love. To second chances and perfect timing and finding each other exactly when we were supposed to." They drank, sitting in comfortable silence as the stars came out above them, exactly as they had that night at the cabin when Nathan proposed, exactly as they would for all the nights to come. The story that started with a high school crush and a reunion had become a marriage, a family, a lifetime of choosing each other every single day. And in the end, that was everything.